of the place. When I was a student, I avoided practicing in an architect's office by taking a double-decker bus around Australia and tormenting children about the environment. That was my first home away from Sydney, and it taught me a lot about the edges of Australia. It was my one-year home, and I learnt a lot, probably more than university. This was a crazy scheme, a building where the homes that people lived in were greenhouses on a massive structure that covered Paddington, so I thought very relevant for tonight. You could say this was either idyllic, or you could say it was madness. It was called Eden. There's a Manly ferry at the bottom, and there's a Paddington Terrace house. It was a star in a movie made by a great Australian director, Phil Noyce. I was homeless when I designed it, and it earned me more money designing madness than I would earn in 5 years now. There's something to be said about the madness of movies. Johan Utzon said no architect should be allowed to practice unless they've designed and built their own house. You should be your own victim. This is my shed on the northern bay of Pittwater on a very steep cliff. It's very small. It was below legal size when I built it. I've lived in it for 25 years. And what it tells me is that as I live there longer, the house diminishes in importance, and the place that it's built in is really the home you live in, and that's what gains importance. And I think that's the most important lesson of all. Not much to show of that house, very simple. We can just look at it for a minute. My other great home I was introduced to by this traditional Aboriginal man called Yummy Lester. This picture's taken in the central desert of Australia, one of the most beautiful parts of this country. Yummy was the boss of a health service. He asked me to join a team to stop people getting sick, a one-line brief, in 1985. He was blinded by atomic tests, but he's the most sighted man I've ever met. If you lived in this house in a small community in Central Australia in 1985, you had about 20 years life expectancy than me, and you had 80 times more chance of visiting a hospital in the first 5 years of life than I would have in Sydney. 29 years later, we've improved 8,000 houses around Australia for over 50,000